Good morning. Glad to be with you here on this Tuesday. Hoping you're having a great day. Talking to you about you and your business. It's your business to be concerned about your neighbor. It's your business to be concerned about what's happening on the political front. And it's all of our business to be cognizant of the sacrifice that veterans have made for our country. And there seems to be an actual war going on from this administration when it comes to the rights of veterans. Michael Connelly's been on the program before. He's with the U.S. Justice Foundation, and he brings a story for us I think all of us should be aware of and concerned about. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on, Kevin.
You bet. Real quickly, tell us about the U.S. Justice Foundation.
Well, the U.S. Justice Foundation has been around for 35 years, and we specialize in constitutional law. That's all we do. That we handle constitutional cases involving all of the amendments and all of the rights guaranteed under the Constitution, try to protect the Constitution, the balance of powers. Of course, the Constitution is under grave assault these days. So I took over last year after Gary Creep, who ran it for years, was elected a district judge out in California. And we are continuing our efforts, and we represent people for free. We raise our money independently. We don't charge our clients for anything, and we certainly don't charge the veterans we represent for anything.
Right. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Tell us a little bit about what the scenario is right now, the thing that we should be alarmed about when it comes to veterans.
Well, I wrote an article about 6 or 7 months ago that kind of broke this story, and I called it Disarming America's Heroes. And basically that's what's happening. They have a program in the VA that's been around for years. It's called a fiduciary program, and it was designed to help elderly veterans who might be suffering from dementia or some other problem and weren't able to handle their own financial affairs. And so the VA would appoint somebody, usually a family member, to do it for them. Now, in 2007, there was an ill-advised amendment passed to the National Instant Criminal Background Checklist, and that's a list of people who cannot purchase firearms legally in this country. And the amendment was passed as a result of the Virginia Tech massacre, which, of course, didn't involve a veteran, but it targeted mentally ill people who had been adjudicated to be mentally ill to a point of being a danger to themselves or others, and said those people, including veterans, had to be put on the list. Well, that's no problem, except the VA has taken it much further than that. Under the Obama administration, veterans are receiving letters from the VA saying that they, because of their physical or mental disabilities, they are being considered to be declared incompetent to handle their own financial affairs. And this may be for minor PTSD issues. It may be because they've had a bout of depression at some time in their history. It may be for something as simple as they let their spouses pay the family bills. And they tell these veterans, and they go on in the letter to say, once you have been declared incompetent, you can no longer own, purchase, transport, or possess a firearm or ammunition. If you do, we're going to put you in jail.
Yeah.
We have 159,000 veterans right now on the list of people who cannot purchase firearms. 99% of them do not belong on there.
Okay.
There's no due process here.
Is it one of these situations where the law is one way and it's being interpreted by another way over time? Is that what's happened, where it's become an expansion of power? You know, it has some legitimacy at the beginning, but is being abused through interpretation.
Well, it's a matter, I think, of deliberately misinterpreting the law, using the law not the way it was designed, to go after people who are mentally ill, like I said, to the point of being a danger to themselves or others, but to disarm America's veterans. Because let's face it, if the country is moving towards a dictatorship, the last thing the people in power want is 21 million veterans out there, like me, who took the oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, where many of us are armed. They want to disarm America's veterans, and they're using this law to do it. And there's no due process here. The veterans are being denied their Fifth Amendment right to due process. We have horror stories coming in from all over.
Okay, so you say there's no due process. There's no right, no ability to appeal?
Well, they can file an appeal, but the problem is that number one, the appeals process, they have to do it at their own expense for the most part. They have to wait as much as a year, maybe 2 years for the appeal to go through. And in the meantime, what the VA is doing, we've learned, is they're telling a lot of these veterans, don't fight us on this. If you appeal this, we're going to suspend payment of your VA benefits. We have one family out there that has $17,000 owed to him. The man can't put food on the table for his family because the VA is basically using extortion techniques to try to force him to accept their ruling.
Okay. Yeah, that's obviously, the whole story just reeks of typical government action. What does that list look like compared to pre-2009, Michael, in terms of number of people?
Prior to 2009, there were there were a couple of thousand veterans on there, and those veterans had been adjudicated by a court of law or by a judicial hearing or administrative hearing to be incompetent, to the mentally ill. And that's not what's happening now. So we're looking at, we think, at the vast majority of these veterans being put on in the last few years, and the program's accelerating. We're hearing from more veterans on a weekly basis saying, look, I just got the letter, or a lot of veterans are calling in and saying, I didn't know I'd been declared incompetent. Nobody ever notified me. I went to try to buy a firearm and was denied because of mental deficiencies. And these are veterans that maybe 10 years ago went to the VA and said, look, I'm back from Afghanistan. I lost a buddy. I'm a little depressed. That's all that's in their file. But they can, figure out they haven't even been notified of this. They weren't told anything. They weren't adjudicated. They had no, possibility of appeal. So this is accelerating very rapidly.
Michael Connelly is with the U.S. Justice Foundation, usjf.net, talking about the war against, this administration's waged war against Second Amendment rights in general. And unfortunately, we have a nation of people that are such sheeple, if you will. They have no idea the connection between liberty and gun ownership. But it's so clear. The gun ownership isn't to shoot deer. Gun ownership isn't to, for target practice. Gun ownership, one of the primary purposes, is to maintain a free society. It is really truly the last check and balance against a government that can go out of control. And to take the guns away from those who were given guns and had crosshairs on their back to defend their country is just beyond the pale of reason. And so we need to be mindful of this. I encourage the listener to go to usjf.net. That's usjf.net. And we need to work in terms of stopping this systematic attack on America's heroes of taking away their right to gun ownership, a right that they deserved and earned in a way that most Americans never even get the opportunity to do so. So, Michael Connelly, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Kevin.
U.S. Justice Foundation. Learn more about them at usjf.net. I'm Kevin Price. When we come back, much more for you right here on The Price of Business.